Good morning. I'm very pleased to be with you this morning and to give you a small testimony about what Michelin is doing in the space of safer mobility. While we're working at Michelin, a corporation is made to deliver stuff. We either produce products or deliver services. But beyond that, as a corporation, we are a human community. And at Michelin, we are 130,000 around the world. And the question of safety, while we are doing our job, is extremely important. Every day, we have people commuting from their home into their office. And while they work to produce the stuff, they could put themselves into a dangerous situation. And after looking at this for many, many years, we came to the conclusion that what matters most is the behavior. It's not the technology, it's what is here that makes a real impact. So of course, technology, as it progresses, helps this to put the work into safety. But then we look at behavior, and then when it comes to modifying, adapting behavior so that our people and their communities live better in harmony in their cities or in their communities without having to, unfortunately, endure fatalities. The key is, how do we make sure that people are conscious, are aware of the risk? And it is very difficult when you're young. I've been young, believe it. It's very difficult because you think nobody can touch you. You have a lot of energy, a lot of power. But then the question is, you don't realize how scarce and how difficult your environment could be. And that is the big lessons we've learned. So at Michelin, fundamentally, we care about giving people a better way forward. That's why we are together. So we build this thing round and black. We spend a lot of time making sure this is very safe, endurant, and that it will help you saving money, help you conduct your mobility. However, we've realized also that it's not sufficient. For example, tire maintenance is extremely poor. A tire is made of air. Basically, what we build is what is surrounding the air. Unfortunately, air is absolutely crucial for the performance of this stuff. And what we see all over the world is that the tire maintenance basics are not there. People do not know sometimes, and it's frightening, and it's not a question of developing country or not developing countries, it's everywhere. People do not know that tire needs pressure, and that it will not work without pressure. And you can put a lot of regulation together. The question is, how do we build awareness for our young people so that they put the appropriate pressure in the tires? I'm traveling around the world everywhere, and what strikes me is that we have a lot of good intention regarding road safety and safer mobility. And by the way, there is a temptation now that because the fatalities are increasing and we are not succeeding in reducing the fatalities on the road, and that's really a problem, then the temptation is to reduce mobility and making sure that reducing mobility, therefore we should obtain less fatalities. Unfortunately, I don't think it's the right solution because mobility is really important for the world in motion. All of us, you've been traveling, you will be better after this meeting than before this meeting. And traveling is part of freedom. Mobility is essential for goods, for people, to discover new horizons, new markets, new knowledge. So access is absolutely fundamental, and mobility is a key driver for that access. So then the question is, how do we make sure that more mobility is associated with less impact? And again, it's back there. So Jean-Todt was mentioning this. This is the best and the worst thing in the world. It's the best because here I have all the knowledge of the world. But it's the worst because if I get distracted while I am doing a dangerous activity, which is whether I'm scooting, I am bicycling, or I am driving, if I am using this thing, it can be the worst thing in the world. And what we see in statistics is distract driving is becoming one of the most important issues in terms of safe mobility. And I know when we are young, you say, I can be multitask. I can do many things at the same time. Where it's been proven scientifically that the brain just does things sequentially. So it means that you cannot do two things at the same time. You can be very fast at adapting your sequence, but it is still a sequence. And if your sequence is not in tune with what is happening on the road, this would lead to crash. I think drink and driving awareness and how bad it is, I think, is increasing. But this and driving is not sufficiently voiced over. And I rely on you to be that voice and start explaining that this is the best thing and the worst thing in the world. So it can help or can destroy lives. That's a big issue. So at Michelin, we're working extensively, and we have 3 young representatives of Michelin. You need to know that at Michelin, 50% of our employees are millennials. So it's a lot. And it is very important that we build a better future for the youth rather than being an environment where they feel scared or they feel at risk. And so I hope you will have fruitful exchanges with all 3 of them. And I would extend my invite to some representative of you. We have a venue where we work every year with all the stakeholders involved in safer mobility, and it's called Moving On. Moving On is a venue where the motto is, how do we move from ambition into action? In corporations, what we like is to do things, so to make things happening. And so we have everybody, governments, cities, universities, any NGOs, whomever, and a lot of corporations that are actually driving action plans that can have a direct, meaningful impact on what we do. So if you want to join us at Moving On, you're welcome. It will take place early June, and it's every year. And we really need those exchanges so that we can lead corporations into making concrete action for a safer mobility. Thank you.